Look closely at the two people in this footage. This is 22-year-old Leslie Palacio and 25-year-old Eric Rangel. They've just finished a late-night dinner at a local casino. They laugh, talk, and walk out into the warm Las Vegas night, unaware that this will be the last time Leslie is ever seen alive. Moments later, they leave the Longhorn Casino parking lot and head to another bar. It's a normal date night that slowly turns into something darker. By sunrise, surveillance cameras capture Eric helping a heavily intoxicated Leslie into his home. She walks inside and never comes out again. Hours later, the same camera records Eric and his father dragging a lifeless body out of the house and calmly hosing down the driveway. But here's the part that stunned everyone. Months later, the father turned himself in, while Eric vanished into Mexico, still hiding to this day. And what he told police about that night left even the detectives speechless. Leslie Palacio wasn't the kind of girl who vanished without a word. At just 22, she was on the brink of everything she had worked for. A nursing student, months away from graduation, known for her kindness and determination. Friends described her as the type of person who always checked in, who remembered birthdays, who brought comfort to others, even when she was tired herself. Her family was her world, especially her mother and sisters. They often spoke about how proud they were of her, and how excited she was to finally start her career. That's why, when Saturday came and Leslie didn't return home, something felt wrong immediately. Her mother, Arlili, and her sister, Nellie, tried calling, texting, hoping for any response. Hours passed. Nothing. Her phone went straight to voicemail. Then came the last message. A simple text that read, "I need to tell you something." No explanation followed. No reply to her sister's worried response. Just silence. At first, police told the family to wait 24 hours before filing a missing persons report, an outdated rule that still lingers in too many departments. So the Palacios waited, hearts sinking as the hours ticked by, knowing deep down that Leslie wasn't the kind of person to disappear. The sun set again, marking the start of a nightmare that would consume them all. Every missed call, every unread message, became a cruel echo of the life Leslie should have lived. A life cut short before it truly began. When Leslie agreed to go out with Eric Rangel that night, her family didn't think twice about it. Eric wasn't some stranger she had just met online. He was someone they'd known for years. Their families lived only a few blocks apart in the same Las Vegas neighborhood. He'd grown up around them, shared meals, laughed at the same gatherings. To the Palacios, Eric was safe, familiar, the kind of person any parent would trust their daughter to go out with. That trust would soon turn into their deepest regret. When Leslie failed to come home the next morning, her mother tried calling Eric's phone, hoping he could explain where Leslie had gone after their date. But he didn't answer. Neither did his father, Jose, when she called their home. The house looked quiet when they stopped by. Too quiet. The blinds were drawn, and no one came to the door. At first, the Palacios told themselves there had to be an innocent reason. Maybe Eric and Leslie had argued. Maybe she was staying with a friend. But by the second day, the silence became deafening. Then came another chilling discovery. Eric and his father had both vanished. Jose Rangel was a well-known man in the neighborhood, a churchgoer, a family man with a calm demeanor. No one could imagine he'd be running from police, let alone that he might have helped cover up a crime. But as the days passed and detectives couldn't reach either of them, suspicion began to grow. Something about their disappearance didn't feel like coincidence. It was then that police started to piece together the haunting truth. The man Leslie trusted most that night wasn't just hiding. He was hiding something far worse. By the time Eric Rangel's truck pulled into the driveway that early morning, the first hint of sunrise was just beginning to color the Las Vegas sky. It was around 5:30 a.m., and both he and Leslie were exhausted from a long night of drinking and hopping between bars. Leslie could barely walk on her own. Security footage later showed Eric helping her out of the passenger seat, his arm wrapped around her shoulders, guiding her gently toward the front door. To anyone watching, it looked like a young man taking care of a drunk date. Nothing more. She was still wearing her mask, still holding her leftovers from the casino dinner earlier that night. Eric's face was uncovered, tired, and emotionless. He opened the door and led her inside. That was the last time anyone saw Leslie Palacio alive. Inside the home, Eric's father Jose was awake in the garage, getting ready for a morning church event with his wife. He later told investigators that he heard the two come in, laughter, footsteps up the stairs, and then quiet. Minutes stretched into an hour, maybe more. Then came the sound of footsteps again, only this time Eric was alone. At around 6:30 a.m., the same camera that had captured Leslie walking into the home recorded something horrifying. Eric appeared again, this time shirtless, dragging what looked like a lifeless body wrapped in a bedsheet. His father Jose followed close behind, glancing nervously around as they struggled to lift the weight into the back of Eric's truck. The body was small, limp, unmistakably human. Once the truck was loaded, Eric drove off. Minutes later, Jose returned with a garden hose, washing the blood-stained walkway as if trying to erase what had just happened. Neighbors who saw him that morning thought nothing of it, just a man cleaning his driveway. But in truth, he was washing away the final traces of a young woman's life. That quiet suburban street, so ordinary and still under the desert dawn, had just become the scene of an unspeakable crime. And behind those closed doors, a father and son had crossed a line neither of them could ever come back from. When detectives finally entered the Rangel home, what they found stripped away any remaining hope that Leslie might still be alive. The small house looked as if someone had tried to erase a terrible secret. Blue latex gloves lay crumpled on the couch, cleaning supplies lined the dining room, and a mop bucket in the kitchen was filled with dark, stained water. Upstairs, Eric's bedroom told the rest of the story. The bedsheet was missing, the mattress stained, and his shirt, hanging neatly in the closet, was speckled with what appeared to be blood. It was clear someone had gone to great lengths to clean, but not even bleach can cover the scent of death. By then, Eric and his father Jose had vanished. Their phones were turned off, their truck gone. For detectives, the case had turned from a missing person into a homicide, and both suspects were now on the run. Local news stations flashed their faces across every screen, pleading with the public for any sighting. But while police scrambled for leads, Eric made one final, chilling move. He called an old friend from a number the man didn't recognize, a burner phone. His voice was frantic, trembling. He reminded the friend of a strange conversation they'd once had, when Eric drunkenly asked for a favor, if he ever needed help. Now, he was calling in that favor. "I need gas," he said. "I can't go anywhere. I don't want to be seen on camera." The friend, confused, asked what was going on. That's when Eric said the words that would change everything. "I killed her." At first, the friend didn't believe him, but Eric repeated it, slower this time, almost emotionless. "I killed her. She's dead. She's in the back seat of my truck right now." Panicked, the man hung up and went straight to police. But by then, Eric and Jose were long gone, heading south toward Mexico. They left behind no credit card trail, no phone pings, no witnesses. It was as if they had dissolved into the desert air. 10 days later, Leslie's body was found more than 60 miles away, in a desolate stretch near the Valley of Fire. The desert heat had ravaged her remains. Her striped top and blue jeans helped identify her, the same outfit she'd worn that night. The autopsy couldn't even determine her cause of death. For her family, the nightmare was now real. Leslie was gone. Her killers were free, and the quiet Nevada desert had become her unmarked grave. a place where innocence was buried under the weight of cruelty and silence. For months, the case went cold. There were no sightings, no phone activity, no trail to follow. Eric and his father had vanished into thin air, leaving the Palacio family with only questions and unbearable silence. Then, nearly 5 months after the murder, something unexpected happened. Jose Rangel showed up at the U.S.-Mexico border near San Diego. On January 19, 2021, border officials at the San Ysidro crossing were stunned when a tired, disheveled man approached and identified himself as Jose Rangel. The name had been plastered across wanted posters for months. He didn't run, didn't resist. He simply said he was ready to come home. Authorities arrested him immediately and notified Las Vegas Metro Police. When investigators sat across from Jose in the interrogation room, his story was calm, rehearsed, and deeply unsettling. He claimed that Leslie had overdosed inside his son's bedroom, that there had been no fight, no violence. According to him, Eric panicked, convinced no one would believe it was an accident, and begged for help. Jose said he only helped move the body so that his wife and daughters wouldn't discover the scene. He said he wasn't thinking straight, that he just wanted to protect his son. But detectives weren't buying it. The security footage, the blood evidence, the careful cleanup, it all painted a different picture. And when they confronted him with the video showing him helping Eric drag Leslie's lifeless body, his calm facade cracked. His story changed again. He admitted to helping Eric get rid of the body, but insisted he never saw any signs of violence. "I thought she'd just passed out," he said softly, staring down at the table. Jose told them that after the body was dumped, Eric became paranoid, convinced someone was after them, muttering that people were coming to kill the family. Fearing for their lives, Jose claimed he followed his son into Mexico, traveling for hours across the desert until they crossed the border. Then, somewhere along the way, Eric disappeared. "He went his own way," Jose told investigators. "I haven't seen him since." Authorities searched every possible lead in Mexico, Chihuahua, Durango, Baja California, but Eric Rangel had become a ghost. No verified sightings, no confirmed arrests, nothing. And while Jose sat behind bars awaiting his fate, Eric's empty place in the story became the most haunting part of all. A reminder that sometimes justice can stop just short of the person who deserves it most. When Jose Rangel finally faced a judge, Leslie's family believed it was the first step toward justice. They had waited months for this moment, for someone, anyone, to be held accountable for what happened to their daughter. But when the sentencing came down, disbelief rippled through the courtroom. Jose was charged only with destroying evidence and being an accessory to murder, both misdemeanors. The punishment? 2 years in jail. And because of time already served and early release programs, he would spend only about 8 more months behind bars before walking free. For Leslie's mother and sisters, it felt like a slap in the face. They had buried their daughter, endured sleepless nights, and begged for answers. And the man who helped cover up her death would soon be free. Even prosecutors couldn't hide their frustration. Chief Deputy District Attorney John Giordani publicly condemned the leniency of Nevada's laws, saying, "Dumping a young girl's body and treating her like trash should never be considered a misdemeanor." The sentence reignited outrage across Las Vegas. Community members gathered at vigils and rallies, not just to honor Leslie, but to demand change. They pointed to the outdated 24-hour waiting rule that had delayed the investigation, and to laws that treated accessory actions in a homicide as minor offenses. For many, Jose's light punishment symbolized everything wrong with the system, how bureaucracy and loopholes could cheapen the value of a young woman's life. Leslie's family refused to stay silent. They spoke to the media again and again, their voices trembling but firm. "We trusted the system to bring justice for our daughter," her mother said. Instead, it protected the people who helped destroy her. By the time Jose walked out of jail, the damage was already done. Not just to Leslie's family, but to public faith in justice itself. The law had done its part on paper, but in the eyes of the community, justice had never truly been served. For Leslie Palacios' family, time hasn't healed anything. It's only deepened the ache. Years have passed, but the emptiness left behind by her absence still hangs heavy in their home. Her mother, Arlili, still sets a place for her at family gatherings. Her sisters still post her photos online, writing messages as if she might somehow read them. Every morning begins with the same silent question. Will today be the day Eric is finally found? In televised interviews, her family's voices tremble between heartbreak and fury. Her sister Nellie once looked straight into the camera and said, "You can't hide forever. There's no way of running from this. Pay for what you did." Those words echoed across the community, a plea for justice that still hasn't been answered. Vigils continue to be held each year on the anniversary of Leslie's death. Friends, neighbors, and even strangers gather with candles, wearing shirts printed with her smile, the same one that once lit up every room she walked into. They speak not only of Leslie, but of the many women whose cases remain unresolved, victims whose stories fade as the headlines move on. The Palacio family refuses to let that happen. Their fight has become larger than one tragedy. They've spoken out about changing outdated laws, pushing for quicker police responses and tougher penalties for those who aid violent crimes. In their grief, they've become advocates, a voice for others still waiting for justice. And yet, the shadow of Eric Rangel still lingers. Reported sightings in Mexico have come and gone, but none confirmed. His name remains on wanted lists, his photo circulating through media every few months. A face that reminds everyone how incomplete this story still is. For Leslie's family, justice isn't just about punishment. It's about peace. It's about knowing that their daughter's death meant something, that the system changed because of her. Until that day comes, they'll keep speaking her name, lighting candles, and telling her story to anyone who will listen. Because for them, Leslie's story isn't over. And neither is their fight to make sure the world never forgets her. Pay attention to this footage. This is 29-year-old Rebecca Lawson and 32-year-old Daniel Kerr. They've just finished dinner in their modest two-bedroom apartment in Millbrook, Pennsylvania. Then Rebecca is seen in the kitchen, pouring hot tea from a kettle into a cup. Moments later, CCTV footage shows them in the living room. Daniel is sitting on the sofa, headphones on, finishing a work call. Rebecca stands at the counter like she's carrying something heavy on her mind. To anyone watching, they look like a couple holding on by a thread. But watch her hands. Then, footage from the kitchen shows her adding a substance to the cup and stirring it with a spoon. After 60 seconds, she carries the cup of a hot tea into the living room with a soft smile and places it beside Daniel's laptop. "Thought you might need it," she says. "Thanks, babe." He looks up, grateful, tired. By morning, Daniel is violently ill, vomiting, disoriented, his body shutting down. Rebecca rushes him to the hospital, playing the worried girlfriend perfectly. And when doctors run a toxicology screen, they find something chilling. ethylene glycol, antifreeze. But here's what Rebecca doesn't know. 2 months earlier, Daniel installed hidden cameras throughout the apartment, not because he suspected her of anything, but because package thieves had been hitting their building. 4 cameras, motion activated, cloud connected, recording everything. And when detectives review the footage, they uncover something horrifying. Whatever Rebecca poured into that glass, she knew exactly what she was doing. Rebecca Lawson and Daniel Kerr met in the winter of 2021 at a coffee shop in downtown Millbrook, a sleepy town 40 minutes west of Harrisburg. She'd just finished a brutal overnight shift at Millbrook General. He was nursing a cold brew and debugging code on his laptop. Their eyes met. He made a joke about her stethoscope. She laughed, genuinely, for the first time in weeks. By spring, they were inseparable. Friends described them as that couple, the kind who finished each other's sentences, who cooked together on Sunday nights and took long drives through the Appalachian foothills with no destination in mind. Daniel was quiet, thoughtful, a little awkward in crowds, but fiercely loyal. Rebecca was warm, nurturing, the kind of person who remembered your birthday and brought soup when you were sick. But beneath the surface, cracks had begun to form. Rebecca's job was draining her. 12-hour shifts, understaffed wards, parents screaming at her over wait times she couldn't control. She started drinking more, wine at dinner, vodka before bed. Daniel noticed. He suggested therapy. She deflected. Fights became more frequent. Small things, dishes left in the sink, plans canceled last minute, escalated into shouting matches that left them both exhausted. And then there was the money. In July 2023, Daniel discovered that Rebecca had opened 3 credit cards in his name without telling him. $17,000 in debt. Online shopping, cash advances, payments to accounts he didn't recognize. When he confronted her, she broke down, cried, said she had a problem, promised she'd get help. He believed her. He wanted to. But trust, once fractured, is hard to rebuild. By September 2023, Daniel had made a decision he hadn't shared with anyone. He was planning to leave. Not immediately. He wanted to do it right, gently, without cruelty. He'd already started looking at studio apartments across town. He told himself he'd wait until after her birthday in October. Give her one last good memory before breaking her heart. Rebecca, somehow, knew. Maybe it was the way he'd grown distant, the way he no longer talked about next summer or their future, the way he flinched, almost imperceptibly, when she touched his arm. She couldn't lose him. Wouldn't. And so, 3 weeks before that Thursday night in September, Rebecca Lawson began researching. Thursday, September 28th, 2023. The day started like any other. Daniel woke at 7:15 a.m., made coffee, kissed Rebecca on the forehead before she left for her shift. She texted him at noon, "Miss you already," and he replied with a thumbs-up emoji. Routine, unremarkable. But Rebecca's browser history from that morning told a different story. She'd searched undetectable poisons, household items. Then, symptoms heart attack versus poisoning. Then, how long does antifreeze stay in system? At 3:42 p.m., she stopped at a hardware store on Route 22. Security footage shows her purchasing a bottle of ethylene glycol, automotive antifreeze. The cashier, a bored teenager named Marcus Holt, wouldn't remember her until police showed him her photo 6 days later. Rebecca came home at 6:30 p.m. Daniel was on a Zoom call, so she went straight to the kitchen. She poured a small amount of the antifreeze into an empty prescription bottle, one that had once held her anxiety medication, and hid it in the pocket of her favorite cardigan, a soft gray thing she wore almost every evening. At 9:47 p.m., she made her move. 3 drops. That's all it took. Ethylene glycol is insidious. It's sweet-tasting, nearly odorless, and in small doses mimics the symptoms of flu or food poisoning. In larger doses, or repeated over time, it crystallizes in the kidneys, leading to acute renal failure. Death can take days. Painful, confused, undiagnosed. Daniel drank half the glass before setting it down to finish an email. Rebecca sat beside him on the couch, scrolling through her phone, her leg pressed against his. Casual. Intimate. By 11 p.m., he was nauseous. By midnight, vomiting. Rebecca played the concerned girlfriend perfectly. Brought him water, held his hair back, suggested it might be something he ate for lunch. But Daniel's head was pounding. His vision blurred. He stumbled to bed and passed out hard, too exhausted to question anything. Rebecca sat in the living room until 3 a.m., staring at the wall, her face unreadable in the glow of her phone screen. He called in sick to work, spent the day in bed, sweating through his sheets. Rebecca brought him soup, checked his temperature, kissed his forehead. "Maybe we should take you to the ER," she suggested. Sunday morning, they went to the hospital. At Millbrook General, doctor ran blood work. Elevated creatinine levels, kidney distress. She asked Daniel about his diet, medications, recent travel. Nothing unusual. She admitted him for observation, started him on IV fluids, and ordered a toxicology screen. Standard protocol for unexplained renal symptoms. That's when things got strange. The tox screen came back Tuesday morning. Ethylene glycol. Trace amounts, but unmistakable. Doctor's expression darkened. She called the hospital's ethics board, then the police. Detectives arrived within the hour. Officers sat beside Daniel's bed and asked the question that would unravel everything. Who has access to your food and drinks? Daniel's face went blank, then pale. "My girlfriend," he whispered. Detective interviewed Rebecca that evening at the apartment. Rebecca was tearful, shocked, cooperative. "I don't understand," she kept saying. "How could this happen? We eat the same things, drink the same things." Officer noted the inconsistency. If they shared everything, why wasn't Rebecca sick? They obtained a warrant to search the apartment. Wednesday morning, forensic techs swept the place. They found the amber vial in Rebecca's cardigan pocket, tucked in the laundry hamper. Still contained trace amounts of ethylene glycol. But the real breakthrough came when Detective asked Daniel about security. "Do you have any cameras in the apartment?" Daniel's eyes widened. "Oh my God, yes. I forgot. I set them up in July." Detective watched the kitchen camera feed from Thursday night 3 times. Each time, the same sequence. Rebecca glancing toward the hallway, reaching into her pocket, tipping the vial, stirring, walking away. Premeditated, calculated, cold. But there was more. The team pulled footage from the previous 2 weeks. On September 14th, 2 weeks before Daniel got sick, Rebecca had done the same thing, poured something into his coffee. He'd complained of a headache that afternoon but brushed it off. On September 21st, again, this time into his water bottle before he left for a rare in-person work meeting. He'd felt dizzy during the drive home, blamed it on stress. She'd been poisoning him slowly, testing doses, watching his reactions. On Thursday, October 5th, 2023, detectives arrested Rebecca Lawson at the hospital where she worked. She was coming off a shift, still in scrubs, carrying her lunch bag. They read her rights in the staff parking lot under gray autumn skies. Rebecca didn't resist, didn't cry, just stared at them with empty eyes and said, "I loved him. I just wanted him to need me again." At the station, she confessed. She admitted to the poisoning, explained that she'd read about antifreeze online, thought small doses might make Daniel sick enough to depend on her, to see her as indispensable. She never intended to kill him, not really. She just wanted to keep him. "I knew he was leaving," she whispered. "I couldn't let him go." Forensic psychologist doctor would later testify that Rebecca exhibited traits consistent with dependent personality disorder and pathological fear of abandonment. But the law doesn't care about motive when the act is attempted murder. Rebecca Lawson was charged with attempted murder and aggravated assault. At trial, the defense argued diminished capacity, mental illness, stress from her job, unresolved trauma from a childhood marked by instability. The prosecution presented the security footage, the vial, the tox reports. They painted a picture of a woman who chose control over love, possession over trust. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on both counts. In January 2024, Rebecca was sentenced to 12 years in state prison with the possibility of parole after 8. Daniel attended the sentencing but didn't speak. He sat in the back row, pale and thin, still recovering from kidney damage that would affect him for the rest of his life. After the hearing, he gave a brief statement to reporters outside the courthouse. "I loved her. I would have done anything for her. She didn't have to do this. She just had to let me go." He moved to Pittsburgh 3 months later, changed his number, started therapy. Friends say he's doing better now, slowly rebuilding, learning to trust again. But the cameras are still there, in his new apartment, always recording, just in case. Rebecca writes him letters from prison. He's never opened one. Doctor, the ER physician who caught the poisoning, says this case changed how she approaches unexplained renal failure. "We're trained to look for disease," she said in a later interview. "Sometimes we forget to look for intent." Millbrook is quieter now. The coffee shop where Rebecca and Daniel met closed during the pandemic. The apartment they shared has new tenants, a young family who don't know the story, who cook dinner in that kitchen and drink water from those glasses and never think twice about what happened there. But the footage remains, archived, time-stamped, a digital ghost of the moment love became obsession, care became cruelty, and a woman who swore she'd never hurt anyone poured poison into the glass of the man she claimed to love. Some crimes announce themselves with violence: breaking glass, screams in the night, blood on white tile. But Rebecca Lawson's crime was quieter. It happened in the soft glow of a kitchen light, with a loving smile and a glass of iced tea. It was intimate, invisible, the kind of betrayal that doesn't leave bruises but shatters something deeper. The belief that the person who knows you best won't use that knowledge to destroy you. Rebecca Lawson was charged with attempted murder and aggravated assault. At trial, the defense argued diminished capacity, mental illness, stress from her job, unresolved trauma from a childhood marked by instability. The prosecution presented the security footage, the vial, the tox reports. They painted a picture of a woman who chose control over love, possession over trust. The jury deliberated for 4 hours, guilty on both counts. In January 2024, Rebecca was sentenced to 12 years in state prison with the possibility of parole after 8. Daniel attended the sentencing but didn't speak. He sat in the back row, pale and thin, still recovering from kidney damage that would affect him for the rest of his life. After the hearing, he gave a brief statement to reporters outside the courthouse. "I loved her. I would have done anything for her. She didn't have to do this. She just had to let me go." He moved to Pittsburgh 3 months later, changed his number, started therapy. Friends say he's doing better now, slowly rebuilding, learning to trust again. But the cameras are still there, in his new apartment, always recording, just in case. Rebecca writes him letters from prison. He's never opened one. Doctor, the ER physician who caught the poisoning, says this case changed how she approaches unexplained renal failure. "We're trained to look for disease," she said in a later interview. "Sometimes we forget to look for intent." Millbrook is quieter now. The coffee shop where Rebecca and Daniel met closed during the pandemic. The apartment they shared has new tenants, a young family who don't know the story, who cook dinner in that kitchen and drink water from those glasses and never think twice about what happened there. But the footage remains, archived, time-stamped, a digital ghost of the moment love became obsession, care became cruelty, and a woman who swore she'd never hurt anyone poured poison into the glass of the man she claimed to love. Some crimes announce themselves with violence: breaking glass, screams in the night, blood on white tile. But Rebecca Lawson's crime was quieter. It happened in the soft glow of a kitchen light, with a loving smile and a glass of iced tea. It was intimate, invisible, the kind of betrayal that doesn't leave bruises but shatters something deeper. The belief that the person who knows you best won't use that knowledge to destroy you. The footage haunts detectives. She's seen murders, assaults, domestic violence that left victims unrecognizable. But something about watching Rebecca pour poison into Daniel's drink, so calmly, so deliberately, like she was adding sugar, stays with her. It wasn't rage, detective said months later. It was calculation. That's what scared me. She wasn't out of control. She was completely in control. And that made her more dangerous. Psychologists who've studied the case point to Rebecca's history. A mother who abandoned her at 12, foster homes, relationships that ended badly, a pattern of clinging too tightly and watching people leave. By the time she met Daniel, she'd convinced herself that if she loved someone hard enough, perfectly enough, they couldn't abandon her. But love isn't supposed to be a prison, and when Daniel started pulling away, emotionally, quietly, Rebecca didn't see a man making a healthy choice. She saw the inevitable, the abandonment she'd feared her entire life. And she decided she'd rather make him need her through sickness than lose him to freedom. What she didn't understand is that needing someone and loving someone aren't the same thing. In prison, Rebecca has reportedly become a model inmate. She works in the infirmary, helps other women, writes poetry in a journal she keeps under her pillow. Her therapist says she's making progress, confronting the fear that drove her to such desperate measures. But remorse and understanding don't erase the crime. They don't give Daniel his health back, or his trust, or the 3 years he spent building a life with someone who was slowly killing him. And they don't answer the question that keeps people awake after hearing this story. How well do you really know the person you love? The cameras captured everything, but they couldn't capture the moment Rebecca decided that losing Daniel was worse than hurting him. They couldn't capture the loneliness so vast it swallowed reason, or the fear so primal it turned a nurse, a healer, into something monstrous. In the end, Rebecca Lawson didn't just poison Daniel Kerr. She poisoned the one thing they'd built together: trust. And once trust dies, no amount of love can bring it back. Daniel keeps one photo of them, not displayed, buried in a folder on his laptop he never opens. In it, they're at the park, autumn leaves falling, her head on his shoulder, both of them smiling like nothing could ever go wrong. He's thought about deleting it 1,000 times, but something stops him. Maybe it's proof that it was real once, or maybe it's a reminder that love, when it twists into fear, can become the most dangerous thing in the world. Rebecca is eligible for parole in 2032. Daniel has already decided he won't attend the hearing. Some doors, once closed, should stay that way. It was more than a crime. It was a mirror, reflecting how far love can fall when it turns to fear. And in that reflection, we see not a monster, but a person who forgot that letting go is sometimes the only way to truly love someone.
Know what happened between you and Kanaya? I'm saying when you were at Dave's.
Oh,
it was more than just you two arguing.
I had just sat on her. That's it.
You had what? I'm sorry.
Sat on her.
You had sat on her?
I sat on her.
Did she ever tell your wife about you guys?
Yeah, a long time ago. Yeah.
And what did you just say before? She was a good person. She was.
I think we're at the breaking point, man. Difference between you looking like a guy who made a bad decision and just an absolute monster.
I'm sorry.
You know you
said I'm a monster?
It's done!
Right! God damn!
Right.
I would have never thought that I would be burying my daughter before she buries me.
She was everything to me. She was everything, and this is the most hurtful feeling.
20-year-old Kania Brunson, her body was discovered near Keefe Avenue in Palmer Street.
Nobody ever feel this type of pain.
2 men face charges, but the criminal complaint points to lies others told.
In September 2022, 20-year-old Kania Brunson from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, was found deceased near Keefe Avenue and Palmer Street. Investigations revealed that she had been involved in a relationship with Sultan Sharif, a married man. On the day of the incident, a witness reported seeing Sharif assaulting Brunson in his vehicle, during which she reportedly screamed, "He cut my throat." Later that day,
The female stated, "He cut my throat." She was screaming and pleading for help.
Her body was discovered tied, shot, and set on fire. Following a 6-day trial, a Milwaukee County jury convicted Sharif of first-degree intentional homicide. The jury deliberated for just 45 minutes before reaching their verdict. In September 2023, family and friends gathered to honor Kanya's memory, marking 1 year since her untimely death. This is the heartbreaking story of Kanya Brunson, a vibrant 20-year-old woman full of life and potential. Kanya was passionately pursuing her dreams of becoming a certified nursing assistant, driven by her desire to make a meaningful difference in the lives of others. Tragically, her promising future was cut short when her life became intertwined with Sultan Sharif, a married man with whom she had been involved in a years-long secret relationship. As the investigation into Kanya's disappearance unfolded, shocking and disturbing details began to emerge. The case revealed a tangled web of infidelity, deception, and a sinister scheme that would ultimately lead to Kanya's untimely and devastating death. Her story is a chilling reminder of how secrets and lies can spiral into tragedy, forever changing the lives of everyone involved. Before we begin the story, we want to extend our deepest condolences to the friends and loved ones of Kanya Brunson. This unimaginable loss has left a void that can never be filled, and our thoughts are with all those who knew and cherished her during this difficult time. This story takes us to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a city celebrated for its vibrant culture and close-knit communities. However, beneath the surface of this bustling city, a heartbreaking tragedy unfolded, leaving an indelible mark on everyone who knew the victim. Kanya Brunson was a 20-year-old Milwaukee resident with a bright future ahead of her. Described as a compassionate and ambitious young woman, Kanya was deeply committed to making a positive impact on the world around her. Initially, she dreamed of becoming either an orthodontist or a veterinarian, driven by her love for dentistry and animal care. Over time, Kanya discovered a talent for helping others feel beautiful and confident. Recognizing her gift, she decided to enroll in beauty school, where she could refine her skills and pursue a career in cosmetology. Despite her young age, Kanya was already making significant progress toward her goals. Her determination to succeed and her passion for her work were evident to everyone who knew her. She was adored by her family and friends for her warm, generous spirit and her magnetic personality. Kanya's infectious laughter and kind heart left a lasting impression on all who met her, brightening even the darkest days with her radiant smile. Her parents, Jennifer Meadows and Shantae Brunson, were immensely proud of their daughter's accomplishments and aspirations. They often spoke of her with love and admiration, recalling fond memories of her vibrant personality and steadfast determination. To them,
She was everything to me. She was everything, and this is the most hurtful feeling.
Kanya was more than a daughter. She was a source of endless joy and inspiration. Amid Kanya's promising life, a shadow loomed in the form of Sultan Sharif, a married man with whom she was secretly involved. The nature of their relationship was cloaked in secrecy, hidden from her family and friends. This clandestine connection would ultimately intertwine with Kanya's fate, leading to a devastating series of events that no one could have foreseen. Despite being married, Sultan Sharif engaged in a secret relationship with Kanya Brunson, leading a double life that would ultimately have devastating consequences. Their relationship began when Kanya was still a teenager, setting the stage for a tragic story of betrayal, deceit, and unimaginable brutality. Kanya's life took a chilling turn when she made the courageous decision to inform Sharif's wife about their affair. On the fateful night of September 24, 2022, events spiraled into a nightmare that would culminate in her untimely death. Just a week before her murder, Sharif had contacted Kanya's mother, expressing a desire to end his relationship with her daughter, a move that would foreshadow the tragedy to come. On the day of her murder, Kanya agreed to meet Sharif, believing she was meeting someone she could trust. Instead, the meeting turned deadly. A friend of Sharif witnessed the horrifying scene as he attacked Kanya, prompting a frantic 911 call. Sharif was seen on top of Kanya in his car as she cried out for help, desperately screaming that he had cut her throat. Her pleas echoed with terror, but despite her cries, help arrived too late. Hours later, Kenya's lifeless body was discovered in an alley near Keefe and Palmer Streets. In a heinous attempt to cover up the crime, she had been tied, shot, and set on fire.
Police say they found her body near North Palmer. Her father tells me her abandoned car was found about a mile away from here.
20-year-old Kenya Brunson, her body was discovered near Keefe Avenue in Palmer Street.
The gruesome details of the crime painted a harrowing picture of betrayal and brutality. As investigators delved deeper into the case, Sharif's wife initially misled authorities about his whereabouts on the night of the murder. However, surveillance footage soon unraveled their web of lies, exposing the truth. The aftermath of Kenya's murder brought unimaginable anguish to her family as they struggled to cope with the loss of their beloved daughter. Sharif's efforts to cover up the crime, including lies told by him and his accomplices, only deepened the pain and frustration for Kenya's loved ones. The investigation eventually led to the arrest of Sultan Sharif and his brother-in-law, Johnny Allen Hopgood.
2 men face charges, but the criminal complaint points to lies others told.
Hopgood was charged as an accomplice, shedding light on the extent of the conspiracy to conceal the truth. The devastating events surrounding Kenya's death left a lasting scar on her family, her community, and all who knew her. Milwaukee County Circuit Court Judge David Swanson sentenced Sultan Sharif, a repeat offender, to life imprisonment for the brutal murder and mutilation of 20-year-old Kenya Brunson.
Bond for Sultan Sharif is $500,000, and for Johnny Allen Hopgood, it's $50,000. Both are due back in court next week.
The court set Sharif's bond at $500,000, while his brother-in-law, Johnny Allen Hopgood, faced a bond of $50,000. Both men remained in custody as they awaited their trials, while the community struggled to come to terms with the horror of Kenya's tragic and untimely death. Both Sultan Sharif and Johnny Allen Hopgood had prior criminal records, painting a troubling picture of their past behaviors. Sharif's criminal history was particularly extensive, with 13 convictions for various offenses dating back to 1989. Over the years, he had faced charges ranging from narcotics possession to probation violations, demonstrating a long-standing pattern of criminal activity. In 1996, Sharif served a 10-year prison sentence for narcotics possession, further underscoring the severity of his criminal past. Similarly, Johnny Allen Hopgood had his own history of criminal activity, though the details of his prior convictions varied. As an accomplice in Kenya Brunson's murder, Hopgood's involvement added a new layer of charges to his record, likely resulting in additional convictions tied to this heinous crime. While the sentencing brought some degree of closure to Kenya's grieving family, the scars left by her senseless murder will never fully heal. The community mourned the loss of a young woman whose life was cut short by such unimaginable violence, forever remembering her as a vibrant and compassionate soul taken far too soon. The community continues to grieve the loss of Kenya Brunson, a vibrant young woman whose life was tragically cut short. Her memory stands as a powerful reminder of the importance of seeking justice for victims of violence. Despite their immense pain and heartache, Kenya's family remains steadfast in their commitment to honor her legacy, hoping her story will inspire a safer and more just future for others. Jennifer Meadows, Kenya's mother, expressed profound sorrow over the loss of her daughter.
She actually taught me how to put on eyelashes and do my eyebrows.
Whom she lovingly referred to as her best friend. She shared heartfelt memories of their time together, reminiscing about Kenya's many talents, including how she taught her mother to apply eyelashes and shape her eyebrows.
I wasn't even there 30 minutes and they called and told me her car was found. And I knew then, at that point, like something happened to her. He goes on to say, I want to be done messing with your daughter, but she's reaching out to my wife. They think that they're going to be out here and live their normal life after they, helped with this. She was everything to me. She was everything, and this is the most hurtful feeling.
Jennifer described Kania's absence as the most painful experience of her life, a void that words cannot adequately capture.
It's still hard to believe that she's not, here with us.
Cameron Meadows, Kania's stepfather, echoed Jennifer's sentiments, emphasizing Kania's joyful and loving nature. He described her as someone who could light up any room with her smile and laughter, even over the smallest things. Cameron expressed his disbelief and devastation over her tragic fate, highlighting the immense void left in their lives.
Nobody ever feel this type of pain.
She wanted everybody to stay close and wanted a lot of things out of life. She was going for it. So I wasn't going to stop until I find out who did this to my daughter.
Kania's father, Shantae Brunson, also deeply valued her presence, while her grandmother, Charlene Litzler, fondly recalled her vibrant and lively spirit. Their memories of Kania paint a picture of a young woman who brought happiness and light to everyone she encountered, making her loss all the more devastating. The tragic fate that befell Kania Brunson should never have occurred. Her story serves as a stark reminder of the hidden dangers in relationships and the devastating consequences of domestic violence.
It's some comfort to know that, we have the suspects and, they are being charged. But yet and still with the court system, kind of headache, pushing stuff back, rescheduling everything. And, that's what's keeping, us for not having all the peace we want.
Terrible that we have to do this. I would have never thought that I would be burying my daughter before she buries me. It's just terrible that someone could go through that, and then to know that they probably went through it by themselves and not had me or her brother or my husband or anyone that she knew that could be there, at a time like this.
This senseless loss might have been prevented with greater awareness, stronger support systems, and timely intervention in cases of abuse. If mechanisms had been in place to empower victims to seek help without fear, or if restraining orders had been more effectively enforced, Kania might still be alive today. The impact of Kania's untimely death reverberates far beyond her immediate family, touching her entire community. The pain and grief they endure are immeasurable, leaving a void that can never be filled. Their lives have been forever altered, haunted by the memories of what could have been. As Kania's family navigates the aftermath of her loss, they find solace in each other's embrace and the cherished memories they hold dear. Yet, the scars left by her absence are a constant reminder of the irreplaceable void she has left behind. May Kania's story serve as a catalyst for change, inspiring greater efforts to prevent such tragedies and protect those vulnerable to harm. Let her memory ignite a collective determination to create a world where no one suffers in silence. Please subscribe to the channel to get the latest videos first. Thank you for watching another one of our videos. If you enjoyed the way we present these stories or learned something new, please give this video a thumbs up and share with your friend and community. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section below. Your insights or experiences might inspire or help someone else. We'll be back soon with another intriguing story. Until then, take care and see you next time.